All right, dude, what's happening? We're doing a video, final review of the Chaves Ultramar Scapegoat Street. That's a long name. Just call it the Scapegoat and we're good. Scapegoat is based off his costume though, so Ultramar usually means his production side. They does the yacht. So the Scapegoat Street, I did an unboxing video about a week ago. I've been carrying it for a week straight, and I think I have a good idea of how the knife performs and how it carries and all those kind of things I like to cover. So I want to do a final review. So let's just start with the basic specs on this guy. You're looking at 7.7569 overall length, 4.362 handle length, 3.390 in the blade. Let's see your weight. The G10 one weighs differently, so I'll have to just weigh it. Let's see, it's a little bit lighter than the titanium, but it's under 5 ounces, just barely. The titanium is over 4 or over 5, almost an ounce heavier if I remember right. So I wanted the G10 just because I like a little bit lighter knife than over 5 ounces. So one of those things. Let's do some size comparisons for you guys. The mini Adamas, very similar size. Strider SNG. SNG is going to be a little bit bigger, but not a lot. And how about the EDC, Field Duty EDC, a little bit smaller knife. So somewhere in between the Field Duty EDC, Mini Adamas, and the SNG. A good size knife, let's put it that way. I love this size knife. It's my preferred EDC knife right there. So we went over weight, and we went over size, dimensions, all those kind of things, comparisons. So let's talk about the other important things about how it cuts and its edge geometry and those kind of things. And it is a slicey hollow grind. It is not as thin behind the edge as I thought it was. Okay, yeah, there we go. It's about 17.5, 18 thousandths behind the edge, so pretty thin. Not like overly thin, but definitely thinner than most production knives, which is always good to see. So it is a pretty slicey blade. It does have that nice hollow grind on it. I found the cutting performance to be excellent. I did some food prep with it, cut up some tri-tip that I smoked in my smoker. Just sliced that stuff like butter, which was great. Other utility things like cardboard. Really the only things I've been using it for are those kind of basic everyday tasks that I have. So in those things, the blade performance has been great, as well as food prep. Obviously you do have this forward choil. I don't use it though. Like I thought I'd like it, and I actually would prefer more blade length, less choil. I like his choil for sharpening purposes, but typically, the SNG choil works so nicely. It's not so drastic. This is very really deep choil, and the SNG choil does it so well. Same with the Field Duty EDC, and the Field Duty EDC does have a lot of similarities to the SNG, especially this in the not only the monoblock design or construction, but the choil as well. So they work really well. This is a little too dramatic. I would just like to honestly have it be less dramatic, or have it just be a sharpening choil, kind of like Benchmanes don't really give you a choil, but they do, they cut off the blade right here. That is a little bit of a sharpening choil, makes it easier to sharpen. I do appreciate that. So that is my one of two negatives on this knife, is the choil is just a little too big. It does take away some of that cutting edge, and aesthetically it'd look a little bit better, I think, too, with less choil. So ergonomics are fantastic on this knife. It is such a neutral handle design that it should work for anyone's hand. Even if you have huge hands, you could always choke up on that choil. But I wear a medium-sized glove, and I've got easily enough space, got a little to spare. It doesn't feel too big, just feels really nice. And all grips, I didn't experience any hot spots. I'm doing the usual testing I do with the hammer grip and the carving wood and doing some feather sticks and stuff like that can kind of get some hot spots out. Nothing. So ergonomically, very, very, very good. Does lack jimping right here, which is okay. I'd like to see a little bit just to get a little more grip right there, but overall, not a huge deal. Not gonna knock it on that. Action on this guy is really good. Was okay out of the box. All I did is I cleaned out the pivot I didn't even have disassembled the knife. I just cleaned it out with some compressed air. Then added a drop of KPL to the detamp ball and a little bit in the bearings, and it's smooth now. It's, once you overcome that detent, it just drops. So it's a really good action. It is thumb studs. The thumb studs work really well. They're pretty big, but they do the job really, really well. You can middle finger flick it, as you see. It's not the best deployment method though, because the detent's a little stiff for it, so you're really having to get it. And if you're not good at the middle finger flick, you're not gonna be able to do this because the detent's a little strong. So the thumb stud deployment would be easier. You can do it like so. Sometimes I'll even do dual thumbs where I kind of use my thumb and index finger to deploy it, and I'll do that. So overall, action and deployment is fantastic, as you'd kind of expect from your something on bearings. It's definitely broken in a little bit, and that little extra KPL love made a big, big difference. So you can see when you overcome that, it just drops. So good ergonomics, good cutting ability, good action. I mean, there's a lot of things to like about this knife. How does it carry? That's actually one of the negatives on this knife, I would say. And that's only because it's not because of the skull clip, because it comes with 2 clips like I covered in the unboxing, which I think is a fantastic idea. I actually switched back to the skull clip because I found that the replacement clip, that we'll just call it the plain clip, it was very, very stiff, like very difficult to get in and out of your pocket, incredibly. Surprisingly, the skull clip's a little less, because I think it's not a straight piece of tie like this is. It has the cutouts for the eyes and the nose. So I think it adds a little bit more flex to it. I know it sounds weird, but it's true. But still, even with the skull clip, it can be, these pants are getting a little trashed, which ironically, they're supposed to have been like reinforced right there by 511, which they have that little thing. But anyway, if you're doing denim, it's pretty, you have to give it some serious effort to get it on, and then to get it off, it takes a good amount of force. Now that's with this clip. This clip's even worse. So that was one nice thing I really liked about this. Oh good, I don't have to do the skull clip if I don't want to. It gives people options, because not everyone loves it. But the problem is they made it just too stiff. It needs a little bit more spring. And so if your denim is going to be a challenge, like I've been carrying it in shorts, which hasn't been a big deal, but it's just a little stiff to get in and out. It's kind of a nitpick, honestly, because it functions just fine, and it definitely holds the knife in your pocket, so you're not going to lose your knife. But, it is kind of a negative, is the clip is, that, especially this one, too stiff, and then I have to go back to the skull clip, which I know a lot of people like. I'm not the biggest fan of it, but in this case, it functions better, so I'll stick with it. So that is one of my negatives. I just like to see a little bit more spring, a little bit more give in the clip. It's just a little too stiff. Value. This is a hard conversation to have on any knife, really. It's about $320 for this model. So you're getting M390 steel. Yippee-doo. Everyone does M390. It's not like it's some new thing. It's kind of oops, I just bumped that with my forehead of all things. It's getting a little overplayed. I would like to see just more variety in steels. It's a good steel, but, it's just around so much. But, your material-wise, you have titanium frame lock, G10 handle. G10's obviously not expensive. M390 blade steel, titanium backspacer, titanium clip. It is, it's a little pricey for a Chinese-made knife, but it is made by Riot, who is the top of the game in the Chinese-made market. Honestly, Riot is really probably the top of the game in all OEMs, let's be honest. But especially in the overseas manufacturing. But the price it's not horrible, but it's not great, so it kind of falls in between. It's not a horrible value, but it's not a good value. So take that for a grain of salt. I like it. I like the design. I've always liked Chaves designs. Some of them are a little big and overbuilt. This one's not. One important measurement is a little thick in the handle. I forgot to do this earlier. It's going to come in, I think it's over a 1/2 inch. Yeah, just over a ½ inch at 0.54. I typically like my knives to be like a ½ inch or thinner, but it fills the hand really nicely, so it's not a huge deal at all. So overall, I really like it. It's going to stay in the collection for the time being. That may change, you know how I roll. Not too many knives in my collection have stayed a long time, so but this one has a chance to. You know, will it compete with like the SNG or the Field Duty EDC? I don't know. You know, I typically like thumb hole openings versus thumb studs. But like the Mini Adamas here is a good one on the studs, but it does have the access lock, so that does make it a little easier to fidget with and open. This one, though, the action, like I said, is dialed in. D10 is great, and you can, multiple deployment methods, really, you can. So overall, I like the thumb stud action on it. So, and it's kind of nice to have variety, not have all thumb hole openers, not have all flippers, you know, have something with thumb studs. So I like it. So it'll stick around for the meantime. Overall, a really good knife. I like the design quite a bit. I really like these, including the other clips. One thing I would suggest is making the clips a little less stiff. A little bit more material left or removed would help. The gap's fine. The gap is dialed in. It's just that the clip itself is just stiff. This one, like I said, not as bad as the full tie clip. All right, guys, I think that's going to wrap up the video on the Chaves Scapegoat. Let me know your thoughts down below, what you think about it, and we'll see you on the next video.